The Capellan Confederation was more often than not the whipping boy of the inner sphere, especially since the humiliating Fourth Succession War. But then they were laid low. A hero appeared to lead them to greatness. A man to truly kindle a rebirth, a Xin Sheng of the Confederation. A mastermind that would turn it into the strongest Successor State. Of course, I'm talking about Loren L. Coleman, Sun-Tzu Liao. I'm talking about Sun-Tzu Liao. Welcome to our review of The Capellan Solution, a duology written by Loren L. Coleman about the Capellan St. Ives War. It has, of course, two books. Number one is Threads of Ambition, and number two, The Killing Fields. Let's start. Threads of Ambition. Sun-Tzu Liao is the first lord of the resurrected Star League. In the last year of his reign, he decides to milk his power for every ounce of benefit for himself. His dreams to rebuild his Capellan Confederation at any cost is about to become a reality. His first victim, his own aunt, Candace Liao, who deserted the Confederation in the Fourth Succession War, taking the St. Ives Compact with her. Answering Sun Tzu's call to battle is warrior House Hiritsu, always ready to serve, and the Hustaing Warriors, who will do what is necessary to get the job done. As border skirmishes between battle mechs turn bloody, military units rally to Candace Liao's call to hold the line. Both sides are unyielding in this hard-fought war, and as Capellan finds Capellan, the high price of glory will be paid in full. And as said, Sun-Tzu Liao is first prince of the Second Star League. Then he learns that his secret service failed to notice that Victor Steiner-Devian left the sphere 6 months ago. Every other Liao would have now started a purge, but not he. He starts a campaign. Katharina Steiner-Devian promised him a free hand to take care of some family matter, after all. And so we get this tale about the conquest of the St. Ives Compact. Sun Tzu is again a very hands-on house lord, although he prefers more to act through intermediaries. And we will rejoin the members of warrior House Hiritsu, including Ives Song. Yay. However, to be fair, he's here one of the more likable characters. And of course, the St. Ives Compact has its own point of view characters as well. At the same time, we can also see the relationship between Sun Tzu and his betrothed, Isis Marik, cooling down. And I have to say, ThomasSGressman is not really behaving like a father towards Isis. I wonder why. The events finally speed up when a rogue compact unit attacks the planet of Hustaing, trying to capture the Chancellor. But they do not know that this was all a truly cunning stratagem of Sun-Tzu Liao. And so, a series of chaotic interventions and fights begins, and it starts to wreak havoc across the compact. The book itself ends just before the Second Witting Conference. Logically, we have to go to the second book to see the conclusion of the events. The Killing Fields. In hope of salvaging the embattled worlds of a renegade St. Ives Compact, Chancellor Sun-Tzu Liao has launched a war that stretches far beyond the scope of military conquest. His mission: reunite St. Ives with his own Capellan Confederation. But after months of combat extended into years, the smash-and-destroy tactics have turned the crippled compact into a bloody wasteland, and the Chancellor's costly victory into a virtual death watch. For the warriors of House Hiritsu and for the Capellan Compact soldiers on the mech-shredded front lines, Sun Tzu's noble crusade has become a nightmare. And now, with his dream of glory slipping away, the Chancellor will make one last desperate gamble, a final solution to regain total control of a civil war exploding out of control, no matter what the cost. The story continues just after the Second Witting Conference. It should be noted that nothing from the conference itself is explained in the books. So it's clearly before and after. If you have read the Twilight of the Clan series, you know that the inner sphere was deeply changed by it. Candace Liao and Precentor Marshal Victor are now both active in the conflict. But I have to say that Victor does not appear at all, and Kai only gets a few sentences together with his mother. We can see how the fighting gets more brutal, how more desperate, how the attrition works into both militaries. And finally, we get the Black May attacks, although sadly they are only described at the side. They are not really utilized to create excitement. Most of these chapters are just isolated fighting on the different planets, and the book ends with a capture of a planet of St. Ives itself. My problem with these books is that they are not really a novel or a story. There is not really a central conflict that a protagonist has to overcome. Instead of calling it the Capellan Solution, it would also have been possible to call it the report of a Capellan Confederation St. Ives Compact War. It's essentially the action you would discover in a source book, or maybe in an anthology collection. You have Sun-Tzu starting the war, sending his soldiers against the Compact, and then they start fighting. I also have a problem with the book because there's too much tell, do not show. For example, a main point of development, not only in these books, but for the Capellan Confederation as a whole, is a Xin Sheng movement, which was created by Sun-Tzu Liao. It is told to us that this movement truly inspires the citizens and the servitors of the Confederation to put all their effort into the new state and to support the Chancellor and to volunteer to a military to fight for his dream, for their dream of a better Confederation. But we never are shown how this movement truly reaches the people. We are just getting told, everybody believes that the Capellan Confederation is super awesome. Why? Why is this movement touching the people? It would have been very, very beneficial to just give us 1 or 2 chapters where we can see how the effects of the Xin Sheng movement truly improve the living standards of the people, how it works with them. Instead, we only get a few speeches by Sun-Tzu Liao that are usually in the context of the conflict. And that really makes it difficult to root for him in these tales. Also, there's the question, why do the other house lords play along with his peacekeeper charade? In the first book, he uses his position as the first lord of a Star League to order SLDF peacekeepers onto planets of the Compact. What is exactly the motivation to allow that? And more importantly, what are the people of the other successor states thinking about that? Again, using 1 or 2 chapters to show their reaction would have gone a long way to make this story more interesting. But we just have to shrug and accept that, there are no Free Worlds League and Loren and Draconis Combine troops landing on the planets. Okay. And the novels themselves have also not a clear plot line or story we could follow, but they're basically disjointed engagements. You have fighting on this planet, this is resolved, and you have fighting on that planet, and that continues. Meanwhile, you have fighting on this planet, and you have your point of view characters, and that's fine, but they are never brought together to form a nice, conclusive whole. The main character, of course, is Sun-Tzu Liao, and while he is active, he is a catalyst for all the things that happen, he is just pacing in his palace on Xi'an and sniffing incense. In fact, we will learn what his favorite fragrance of incense is. Sandalwood. This all makes it kind of difficult to sympathize with either side. We have Sun-Tzu Liao and his Confederation, and they are clearly the aggressor. They want to reclaim the lost St. Ives commonality, because they believe now in a cause that we as a reader do not really understand. On the other side, we have signed Ives Compact, run by deserter Candace Liao, and she is, as it seems, just incompetent. I mean, she ruled this piece of the inner sphere for 30 years, a generation, and still we hear that the people, even in her realm, are eager to join the Xin Sheng movement. She obviously has not enough military force to face up to her nephew. And there's really the question, lady, what were you doing in the last 3 decades? Were you and your family just using the compact for rent? Plus, that's something that is constantly mentioned in both books, both sides are Capellan, so even if a lot of them die, nothing of value is truly lost. There's one thing that's not bad, not good, but it's interesting. I was thinking about Sun-Tzu Liao and how he acts, and was kind of reminded of Sun-Tzu, the old Chinese guy who wrote The Art of War. The thing with The Art of War is, if you take the book and you start reading it, you will go into it with the idea that this is a secret manual where you learn hidden techniques of warfare that were hidden for centuries or something like that. But then you start reading it and it's quite basic stuff that Sun Tzu tells us. For example, attack the enemy when he's not expecting an attack, use spies, use goods from the enemy, and so on. You will be quite disappointed because it's all just common sense. Of course, if you learn a bit more and become wiser, you will truly recognize how rare common sense truly is, and you will start to appreciate Sun Tzu. A bit it's with Sun Tzu here. He is extremely capable in the books, but he's not doing something out of the order or special or magnificent. It's just his enemies, in this case Candace Liao, are just so incredible incompetent. And there's also something that I really pity. There would be an incredible, exciting and interesting story in these novels. On the planet of Wei, the Capellan forces are attacked with a nerve agent, and this chemical weapon makes its way into the possession of Sun Tzu's sister, Candace Liao, and her cult of Thugi assassins. And she uses this to carry out the Black May attacks. I think this would have been a far more interesting story with an actual plot to explain. But as I said, here it is just a side action. So who should read it? If you're the greatest fan of Sun-Tzu Liao ever and the most passionate follower of our Confederation, then you do not have to read the book because you're the author, Mr. Coleman. If you're less rabid about the Confederation and Sun Tzu, you will, of course, have fun with the book, because it's your hero after all. If you have a especially strong hatred against the Liao family, which I totally understand, you probably will also enjoy it. The only other group I would recommend the book to are those who are really interested in the lore of this war. If you want to know what's going on, how is this fighting happening, if you do not want to grab the fitting source books, then you can read the Capellan Solution. Because, as I already said, this book pretty much has the same action than a source book, just a report of a conflict, and you will be informed about it, but I personally was not really pulled into it. Truth be told, it was quite a slog for me, and it really felt like homework. Like the good old days at school when you were tasked with writing a book report about a piece of literature you are not really interested, but you just have to power through to complete the assignment. Therefore, I cannot recommend the book for just casually for fun readers. If you want an exciting and gripping yarn from the BattleTech universe, you'll have to look elsewhere.